Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are working on the two noble kinsmen, and we get to hear from Palamon today in Act 2, Scene 2. Now, Palamon is one of the two noble kinsmen. He and his cousin Arcite, who look very similar to one another, have both been captured. They were fighting for Thebes on behalf of Creon, even though they didn't really like Creon, and they lost and were captured. So they are now in prison in Athens because Theseus realized that these would be good prisoners to have. And they were chatting about how sad it is that they're going to miss out on all of the stuff of the world. They'll miss out on tournaments, they'll miss out on getting married and having children, all this sort of stuff, because they're stuck in prison. But yesterday Arcite was like, let's make the best of it, and let's pretend that this little prison is our whole world and we are each other's families, and if we were out there, one of us could get sick and the other one wouldn't even know about it, and what sort of a position would we be in then, because we are such good friends. And Palamon responds, "You have made me, I thank you, cousin Arcite, almost wanton with my captivity. What a misery is it to live abroad, and everywhere. 'Tis like a beast, methinks. I find the court here, I am sure, a more content, and all those pleasures that woo the wills of men to vanity, I see through now, and am sufficient to tell the world 'tis but a gaudy shadow that old time, as he passes by, takes with him." What had we been? Old in the court of Creon, where sin is justice, lust, and ignorance, the virtues of the great ones? Cousin Arcite, had not the loving gods found this place for us, we had died as they do, ill old men, unwept, and had their epitaphs the people's curses. Shall I say more? So Palamon is playing into it, and he's saying, "Thank you, Arcite, for talking about what a horrible place the outside world is. I'm totally on board with being here now, because if we were out there, people would be mean to us, and we'd have to deal with lust and ignorance and all of these other things that can be distractions that are all falsities of the world and that sort of thing, and we would die sick old men with people hating us the same way that people hated Creon and all that sort of thing." He's like, do I really need to go on anymore? And Arcite's like, no. And then they get into this thing where they're like, has there ever been two friends as close as we are, and I couldn't be here without you, and they're exchanging all of these words of love for one another, not necessarily in a romantic sense, but saying, we are so close, there's nothing that can tear us apart, blah, 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 blah. And then outside their cell, Amelia and her waiting woman walk past, and they're talking about flowers, and Amelia's like, "Isn't this a pretty flower, and could you make that like to embroider on one of my dresses," and stuff like that. And they talk about how lovely roses are and this sort of thing. And as they are talking, Palamon and Arcite both simultaneously fall in love with Amelia. So Amelia and her waiting woman eventually leave because they're done looking at flowers in the garden. And then Palamon and Arcite start arguing, and Palamon's like, "Yeah, well, I saw her first." And Arcite's like, "So what? I love her. I'm going to pursue her." And they get into this back and forth, and they swear that they never called each other friends, and they get almost to the point of like challenging each other to a duel to the death over Amelia, which they can't really do because they're in prison and they don't have swords, but they certainly threaten each other with death if one of them gets in the way of the other one trying to pursue Amelia, until the jailer comes in and is like, "Arcite, the king needs to see you. I don't know why." So the jailer takes Arcite out for a moment, and Palamon gets the stage to himself, and he shares with us tomorrow's monologue. So I will see you then for that. Mwah.